India, Pakistan, and the Middle East. Independence. After pressure from Indians and the leader of the independence movement, the leader of the independence movement, Mahatma Gandhi, who you probably have at least seen a picture of, Britain did agree to leave all of India in 1947. India at the time, and I think still today, surprisingly, but at the time, for sure, I think they have like the second largest Muslim population now, but they actually had a gigantic Muslim population in the hundreds of millions, so they decided to make a separation, which is called a partition, so Hindus and Muslims would have a separate country. Okay, the leader of the Muslims was Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and he was the first ruler of Pakistan. However, know that Pakistan is Muslim India, so although people consider themselves to be Pakistani, many Pakistanis, to an American, looks Indian. Mahatma Gandhi was more of a spiritual, religious type of a leader. He wasn't really a politician. He just wanted his country to be free, so he did not become the first ruler of India. Mahatma Gandhi was never the Prime Minister of India, even though we will find out later on that some people have had the same last name as him. Okay, the Great Migration. In 1947, when India was partitioned into Pakistan and India, 10 million people realized they were on the wrong side of the border that they wanted to be on. You had Muslims living in India and Hindus living in Pakistan. They both decided we have to move to the other country. So, 10 million people in 1 year. 10 million people, think of that. Nebraska has 2 million people total. So 5 times that. All left their area to go to the new country that was more to their beliefs. So they could be with the people of the same religion. However, there have been centuries of hatred. This is still a problem today in India, sadly. Sparked a lot of violence on the road. Almost no control because the British were gone now, and the new Indian government didn't have a lot of power because it was brand new. And how do you stop violence from happening when 10 million people are on the move? So there's an estimate that almost 1 million people died in this movement. There's also a lot of theft, rape, and other crimes that committed during the migration. You would find people that would be going opposite directions. They may stop at the same rest stop, but then something bad might happen at night because they know, oh, that group is Muslim. Oh, that group is Hindu. We're going to attack them. Okay, the Nehru dynasty. The first leader of India, which is, they have prime ministers just like Great Britain has, was Jawaharlal, pretty sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, Jawaharlal Nehru. Sorry. He was their leader for 17 years, from 47 to 64. His goal was to create a modern, secular country that respected everybody's rights. Did not work that way, but that's also something in America where we said we were trying to be great for civil rights. Doesn't mean we're always good at it. He wanted a secular country, which means that the country was not run by religious officials, and that it was run just like any other democracy. Think of like America like that, where we don't technically have religious officials telling us what to do. Okay? Although progress was made within the world's largest democracy, where they kind of perfected it over time, they have hundreds of million people vote, India remained poor throughout this time. It is not until recently that India has done much better on that front, and actually the Nehru's daughter and then his grandson were the next 2 prime ministers. So for a long time in Indian history, it was just one family controlling everything. His daughter, on the right, Indira Gandhi, not married to Mahatma Gandhi, not related to Mahatma Gandhi in any way. Her husband's name was Gandhi, somewhat common name over there. She was killed by her Sikh bodyguards, which is another smaller religion in India, in 1984 after she had already served 11 years as Prime Minister. What is interesting is that she became Prime Minister right after her father left. So she was a leader of the world's biggest democracy all the way back in the 1960s, which is quite the accomplishment, even if it's more of a nepotism thing with being in the same family. Okay, population and caste system. Population in India is currently 1.353 billion people. It is still growing at a rapid pace. You will find by about 2027, India's population will continue to grow. China's might have actually reached a peak recently, and they will pass them as the world's largest nation. Okay, India has the largest democracy in the world, has over hundreds of millions of votes whenever they vote. Okay, and then one problem India still has is the caste system, which creates permanent social classes. So you're born into a social class, poor, rich, religious is higher up, military is higher up. It is more common in the rural areas, but some people in the big cities still follow the caste system, where you cannot marry outside of your caste. You can't do a whole bunch of things because of the caste system. Okay, the other part of India became Pakistan, and then later Bangladesh. So we have East and West Pakistan. They were one country at one point, so it's basically two halves of the same country, and they're separated by 2,000 kilometers. And you might think, oh, what's 2,000 kilometers? I don't know my metric system. I took David City, and then I made a radius of 2,000 kilometers. So anywhere on the circle is 2,000 kilometers away from David City. So the difference between David City and California is the same between Pakistan and Pakistan. So when you're that far away from the other part of your country, things aren't going to work out so well. So no one would obviously describe New York City as close to David City. Okay, they broke off. East Pakistan broke off because they were tired of being dominated by Western Pakistan. They created the country of Bangladesh, so all that is Bangladesh now. It is now the most densely populated country on Earth, if you do not include small city-states like Hong Kong or the Vatican City or stuff like that, San Marino. Pakistan has problems keeping stability in its nation. It also has become a safe haven for Muslim extremist groups. So you actually have soldiers that fought against America, or not soldiers, but terrorists, Islamic groups that fought against America in Afghanistan, but then they would hide in Pakistan. Okay? We actually found Osama bin Laden in Pakistan, and he had lived there for almost 10 years before we killed him in an American helicopter raid. Okay? A nuclear rivalry. In 1974, India tested its first nuclear bomb, and in 1998, Pakistan had tested its first nuclear bomb. These two countries have border problems all the time. It's not good countries to have nukes, but you can't stop it anymore because they got the nukes. They have multiple small shooting conflicts since their independence, so they will actually fight each other, army versus army, but it usually doesn't become a full war. Okay. Al-Qaeda came from Afghanistan, or they didn't come from Afghanistan, but they were in Afghanistan, and for a while there was a real concern that if Pakistan had a nuclear bomb, well, Al-Qaeda might try to steal a smaller nuclear device, get the nuclear radiation, and that could be made not into a bomb, but a nuclear radiation emitter, which is called a dirty bomb. And the whole idea of that is that you have a device that spews nuclear radiation, like the after effects of a bomb, and would make everybody die in the area too, but you would die a much more slower, more painful death. You could also irradiate the soil and the buildings, so that whole area would be useless for a certain amount of time. And those dirty bombs, although they've never been used in world history, would actually be far easier to smuggle into America than a real nuclear bomb. Okay, the end of the colonies in the Middle East. France and Britain gave up or lost all their colonies in the Middle East, so all these countries became countries right after World War I, like Egypt, or they became countries right after World War II. Okay, Britain decided that it would help to create Israel from the former Palestine in 1948. Surprisingly, in the only few times I can think of America and the USSR agreeing on something, Soviet Union and the USA recognized the new Israel and said it was a country. Okay. Israelis were immediately attacked by all their neighbors, Egypt, Transjordan, Syria, Lebanon later on, and Israel won every single war. Some of it was help from the Americans and Soviets, but still a very great accomplishment. Israel has been attacked and invaded at least 3 to 4 times, and they've always won decisively. So all the wars have helped to double Israel's land. So all this green used to be Muslim land, and the white used to be Jewish land. That was before they were a country. And in 1947 they were made a country, they got a lot of it. In 1949 to 67 they got control of so much more. They just have the West Bank and Gaza Strip. And then now they actually own quite a bit more of the West Bank as well. Okay. Lastly, oil and water. Oil in the Middle East was greatly expanded after World War II, where they found great reserves in the desert. You'll find a whole bunch of oil all the way in these areas. I believe the number amounts are in the millions. So you will find, like, how much money they make a year? A lot. A whole lot of a lot. So that's probably, 24 billion sounds about right. They're making a whole bunch of money. A lot of it's in the Gulf, in this Gulf region. It's actually interesting. You go to some of these countries, they actually make more money than Saudi Arabia, but they are so small it makes them super rich. Saudi Arabia and other Middle Eastern countries, Syria, are part of OPEC, which is an oil makers alliance. They choose when to make things more expensive or cheaper. They made your gas $1.44 recently, or even cheaper in some areas. And I think recently they actually chose to boost that because it's really hurting them. Okay. They can easily lower and raise prices of oil just by basing how much are they going to make. Okay. You'll find that many of these places are very dry, arid countries, and now they have enough oil money where they have invested in water desalination, which actually takes salt water, which is undrinkable by humans, and turns it into drinkable water by removing the salt.